Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to take part in this series of talk. Today, I'm going to talk about India's maritime history and give you a little bit of gyan from my experience in life. We Indians tend to forget that we have a very rich maritime legacy going back centuries. It's a chapter of world history that is nearly forgotten. India's maritime heritage goes back nearly 5,000 years. The earliest reference to maritime activity is contained in our Rig Vedas. In fact, by the time Marco Polo set out to explore East Asia in the 13th century, communities across Africa, Asia, and the Mediterranean had been exchanging their wares for thousands of years in a vast network driven by monsoon winds of the Indian Ocean. Early scholars presumed that the Indian Ocean network was developed to supply the Roman Empire demand for exotic goods, namely spices and silk. However, new evidence shows that the network predates the Romans by generations, and during its peak, the trade network connected places as far flung as China, Rome, and the southern African kingdoms such as the Great Zimbabwe. Monsoon plays a predominant role in the daily life of people in South Asia, especially in India. Use of the monsoon winds in the ocean for maritime trade was a boon to sailing ships to reach overseas countries. The monsoon was a great catalyst for ancient seafaring in the Indian Ocean region. With the aid of winds and sails, sailors crisscrossed the Indian Ocean with ample ease. This mobility facilitated by the monsoon helped in exchange of ideas, culture, religion, food and art, amongst many other things. Mariners from Orissa, India, used to set out on the journey to Southeast Asian countries during the northeast monsoon and return during the southwest monsoons. It was almost a 6-month period. The flow of wind and currents were favorable for both the outward and the return journey. They knew about the winds and current and leveraged the same for trade since at least the past 2,000 years. Similarly, India developed contact with the Arabs in the Arabian Sea with the help of the monsoon winds. Additionally, studies have shown that maritime trade to far-off countries was a seasonal phenomenon driven by the monsoon, and there has been no change in the southwest and the northeast monsoons since then. A study of the country's maritime history reveals that the Indian subcontinent exercised supremacy over the Indian Ocean from the very early times up to about the 13th century. Indians took to the sea for trade and commerce rather than for political ends. This is a period up to about the 16th century witnessed peaceful seaborne commerce, cultural and traditional exchanges between countries. The Indian Ocean has always been regarded as an area of great significance, and India is central to this ocean. The beginning of India's maritime history dates back to 3000 BC. During the inhabitants of the Indus Valley civilization had maritime trade links with Mesopotamia. The excavation at Mohenjo-daro and Harappa have revealed ample evidence that maritime activities flourished during this period. The discovery of a dry dock at Lothal gives an insight into the knowledge of tides, winds, and other nautical factors that existed during that period. The dry dock at Lothal dates back to 2400 BC and is regarded as the first such facility anywhere in the world equipped to berth and service ships. One of the earliest written accounts of this complex network of trade is the Greek text Periplus of the Erythraean Sea. This remarkable handbook was written sometime in the middle of the 1st century of the current era. The author writes in detail of the numerous cities, ports, and harbors on these routes, but the Indian west coast and its ports, right from Karachi down to Kanyakumari, the southernmost tip, accounts for nearly half of this book. The navies of the Mauryan, Satavahanas, Cholas, Cheras, and the Pandya Empire were instrumental in considerable influence of India's of India outside our own shores, long-lasting cultural links developed and commerce flourished. It was the Maratha Navy that put up stiff resistance to the European imperialism in the 17th century. However, this maritime battle could not be sustained at that time. India, as it existed then, had ignored the maritime element of its power, and we saw centuries of British rule. The importance of the maritime dimension is thus great. Ladies and gentlemen, it is widely acknowledged that the fortunes of a nation are determined to a great extent by its geography. And looking at India's geography, we can only rejoice at our good fortune. We have a coastline of over 7,516 kilometers. We have 1,382 islands and about over 2 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone. 95% of our trade by volume and 68% by value is through the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is the third largest ocean in the world, and the nations along its periphery and hinterland account for over 35% of global population. Some of the fastest growing and host some of the fastest growing economies in the world. The economic center of gravity is shifting back to Asia, and with a young population and significant untapped reserves, growing domestic demand and growing regional cooperation, economic growth in the Indian Ocean region is only set to increase exponentially. Countries of Indian Ocean region are therefore likely to emerge as significant drivers of global economic growth in the years to come. Furthermore, the international sea lanes which crisscross Indian Ocean are transited by 2/3 of the global oil supply, of 50% of the container traffic, and 1/3 of bulk cargo shipment. And India's central position in the Indian Ocean, astride these important sea lanes of the world, give us immense strategic advantage as well. It facilitates reach, sustenance, and mobility of our maritime forces, thereby giving us an ability to effectively influence the Indian Ocean. While this geography affords us opportunities to harness the sea to our advantage, it also places us at the very center of the ongoing strategic churn taking place in the world at large and specifically in this region. Its impacts on India in the future will be determined by our outlook and choices that we adopt today. The key feature of our security environment is that it is a dynamic and an uncertain world today. We are possibly living through a period of great power transition wherein the United States of America and China are locked in a complex interplay across multiple domains, be it military, technology, economic, climate, and a host of other issues. This power play is accompanied by a shift of the global center of gravity to Asia, as I said earlier. This therefore makes for a complex and uncertain security environment. Globalization has led to increased economic interdependence between countries. A strong desire to sustain economic growth has consequently resulted in a ferocious thrust for resources and markets. This has aggravated a number of international security issues with new risks and challenges. These emerging dynamics are largely being played out in the maritime domain, and thereby bringing the maritime domain to the center stage of world affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, given the enormity of the complexity of the wide-ranging challenges, the Indian Navy has adopted a multidimensional approach to ensure safety and security in our areas of maritime interest. The Navy is committed to working in close cooperation with our friends and partners to ensure a secure and stable Indian Ocean region. I will also take this opportunity to share with you a few of the lessons which I have learned in my journey of life so far. These lessons may be of value to you as you prepare to step into the wild world. Let me start with a simple question: who is a student? According to me, one who seeks to learn is a student. Being a student is not a status in life. but a state of mind. It is an attitude which one has towards everything in life. Therefore, you have to realize that learning is a continuous process and not restricted to schools and college phase of your life. In my view, all of us are students for life. Even today, I learn something new every day. In the military, as one goes up the ladder, we undergo different courses to broaden our horizon. And when I was the Chief of Naval Staff, I learned a lot of things from my colleagues and my juniors. It is natural that you will cross the threshold of the college one day, and thus the next question that would confront you is, where do I go from here? The answer to this question is never simple or straight. Some will tell you to follow the beaten path, while others will ask you to take risks and follow your dreams. Take some time out and dare to dream. And dreams are not what you see in your sleep. They are the things that do not let you sleep. I can only assure you that you will have countless options in front of you. We had very few options available to us in the early 70s when I passed out from school. I started out by wanting to be a doctor, but I joined the Navy, and now, given a choice, I will repeat it all over again. I want you to remember that we are defined by the choices we make, and undoubtedly the choice of pursuing a profession is an important one. It is my belief that your profession is not a measure of success in life. What decides your value is your excellence in whatever profession you choose. And I would like you to remember that once you have set your heart on something, work hard with sincerity and dedication. It will take you places. I would also like you to remember that tough times don't last, but tough people do. Successful people use their experience of facing and overcoming adversity as a source of strength. If you want to be successful, you will have to learn to take both success and failure in your stride. And my advice to you would be, never allow failure to detract you from your goals. What is important is that you keep trying, and believe you me, if your efforts are sincere, then you shall be rewarded. When I was commanding ships in the Navy, you would have machinery failures, crew would make mistakes, but one has to take them all in your stride and move ahead. You may get rapped on your knuckle by your boss, okay, but that will happen. I would also like to draw your attention to the importance of being good. Mother Teresa famously said, and I quote, "Life is not lived for others, it is not a life." Please remember that each one of us has a role to play in the upliftment of our society. Just as many people played an important role in shaping your life, you also have a duty to contribute as you move along in life. And I would also expect you to be our country's agent of change. As Mahatma Gandhi has famously professed, you must be the change you wish to see in the world. Therefore, as you navigate along the oceanic expanse of life, there will be many things which you could change for the betterment of the society. It is important that you have the self-belief that each one of you can possibly positively impact the world around us, and therefore let the change begin from you. Thank you very much, and Jai Hind.